a second visit of the season to Ebbw Vale, just south of the Brecon Beacons, for the all-wheel drive club AWDC Safari Championship and the penultimate round of what has been a fantastic 2019 season. With just 2 events to go, it quite literally could not be closer at the top of the points table, with Rod Parker and Mark Hones tied on points once drop scores are applied. It's set to be a fascinating final couple of rounds. Before the drop scores are added, it's actually Chris Cumming on top with Mike Bakewell second and Harry Nicol third, but as is often the case with drop scores, consistency is not always rewarded. It's Parker and Hones then, the 2 to watch, with 2 rounds to go.
So after retirement at Ilfracombe for Rod Parker, who was joint top of the table with Mark Hones, after drop scores it leaves you both tied on points as well coming into this round. But you blew the engine to pieces at Ilfracombe. You've got a brand new engine, all new throttle bodies, everything. Talk us through it. You've been through quite a lot to get in.
Yeah, so 4 weeks ago, obviously we had a total catastrophic engine failure, crank snapped, and threw everything everywhere. The boys, the team, have worked really hard. You know, Dan and Dave have worked night and day to get the engine turned around. We got another engine from Ian Davidson, and we got it turned around and we've got it in there. Yeah, it's been remapped by A&L Performance, and hopefully done a good job.
And Ilfracombe, you've just been round the course. It's very fast. It's not like it was earlier this year. It should suit you down to the ground. However, Mark Hones is here. He's going to be on fire as well. He's going to want to win, and it is pivotal that one of you win this weekend.
Yeah, totally. This weekend is definitely the one where we've both got to make our mark. So, as I said last time, you know, we'll be going out in the first lap with a mindset that we're going to go and give it some.
Yeah, you've not tested the car as well, have you?
No, we've done a few laps around the yard, first, second, third gear to make sure she changed gear, and that's it. We're here. We were still working on the car yesterday.
Well, I can't wait to see how all this pans out. But for now, good luck. Let's hope it stays together, and we'll see you at the end.
Let's hope so. Thank you. Cheers, Anthony.
Well, it's been a good start to the event for Rod Parker, leading the way after the first 3 runs of the day. Hot on his heels, though, is Andy Skelly, who, having tasted podium success for the first time this year on the 5th round of the championship, is keen to add to that with his first win of the year this weekend. His times on the first couple of runs were within a handful of seconds of Rod Parker's times. However, he lost a chunk on run 3, meaning that he's 37 seconds back going into the middle part of the day. Still, he's in contention for the victory, and if he can get himself ahead of Rod Parker and take some points away from him, that would no doubt make a certain Mark Hones very happy indeed.
Mark coming into the penultimate round, level on points after the drop scores with Rod Parker. It's a fast course here at Ebbw Vale, slightly different to the one we had earlier on this year. Is there a win on the hands for you?
Well, we certainly hope so, yeah. We come to do our best, and if we get a win, then that's a bonus.
Yeah, you just walked around the course, so what bits are you looking forward to?
All of it. Yeah, there's some new tracks which I can't recall going up or down before. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, there's a bit in the middle with a tight left-hand hairpin. You can't get any speed into it, so it's going to be difficult getting your car around, especially with your turning circle.
Yeah, it's almost like a hairpin round a big stake on the right-hand side, so you don't want to get caught up on that. No, it's going to be interesting.
It certainly is. You won here earlier on this year. You're no stranger to Ebbw Vale. It's not as different as last time. There's just not as much off-road stuff. Is there anything that you've done to the car, or anything that you've changed, or is it as perfect as it was earlier on this season?
Yeah, we made it a lot quieter.
Mark Hones there, referencing the technical infringement that put him out of the previous round at Ilfracombe before it even got underway. This weekend things are going better. He's 3rd place, only 3 seconds behind Andy Skelly, but feeling the pressure from this man. Chris Cumming at this point the best placed of the buggies, therefore leading Class 5 and in 4th place overall heading into the middle part of the day. On outright points, Chris is our championship leader at this stage, but once his worst score of the year, a 92 points haul from round 3 at Glenusk, is dropped, that sends him a bit further down the table. He is, however, leading the Class 5 Championship with a slender lead over Stuart Williams, one that he'll be keen, no doubt, to extend if he can here today. Mike Bakewell narrowly missed out on an outright podium last time we visited Ebbw Vale, but was 2nd place in Class 9 come the end. That's exactly the position he finds himself in once again. Joint 4th this time with Chris Cumming after the first 3 runs, but some way behind Class 9 pace setter Andy Skelly. Bakewell has a reasonably comfortable margin in the Class 9 Championship, but having never been out of the top 5 in Class all year, he will have a hefty score to drop come the end of the season. That should tighten things up, so he'll have to keep the pace up this weekend to try and score maximum points once again. He'll want to try and cut out these sort of moments though, if he's to make that happen. The man who pipped Bakewell to that podium last time we were here was Gareth Edwards, and based on his early form this weekend, he could do the same again. He runs in 5th place at the moment, 15 seconds behind Bakewell after a cautious start to the event, but he clearly has the pace to challenge for a good result once more. Still, a good result here last time does not necessarily guarantee a repeat result on this occasion. The course has been reversed this time and some of the more technical sections have been taken out, meaning the faster course could see a shake-up of the order.
So a new face in 2019 is Michael Tilney. You raced with the All-Wheel Drive Club in 2018 and you wrote the car off hitting a tree at Ilfracombe. You spent all year getting it back together. Looking forward to this.
I am. I'm not looking forward to the rain, maybe, but Ebbw Vale has been a happy hunting ground for us previously, so I am looking forward to it. We've got new bypass shocks on the front, so we had them fitted for Ilfracombe, but only managed 3 laps there, so that we haven't tested them properly. So that should be good and should help on the motocross track. Depending, we haven't walked the course yet, so I don't know if what's out there, but if there's any rough, it should help us with that. And we'll see. Fingers crossed, Lady Luck shines on us for a change.
And it's going to suit the power cars this weekend. It's very fast. There's not too much off-roady stuff. In this, you've got a tuned Robo V8, 5.2 litres. Just had a rematch. Was it 350 brake horsepower?
325 at the wheels, yeah. So.
Yeah. So more
it'll do the job, yeah. More than enough than to get you in trouble, that's for sure.
Yeah. I've just seen you struggling with a clutch, twin plate clutch, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's like a switch on or off, so it's a bit of a nightmare. But it's nice when you're moving, but not so nice to manoeuvre it around.
So potentially we could see you running at the top end of the table this weekend. We'll keep an eye on it. Hopefully you get it to the end. But for now, good luck.
Thank you very much. Yeah, fingers crossed that Lady Luck shines on us for a change. And yeah, I mean we're not going to win, but it'll be nice to be in the top 5 if we can. So
we'll keep an eye on it.
All right, thank you, mate.
Well, Michael has had to contend with some handling issues in the early stages of this event, meaning that Bruce Ballard is breathing down his neck, just 8 seconds behind the returnee after the first 3 runs. Unlike the man he's chasing, Bruce does have to think about championship points though. He had a non-finish in the 5th round of the championship, meaning he's dropping 0 points. That actually brings him mathematically back into contention for the Class 9 championship battle. Next up is Stuart Williams, running 9th overall and 2nd within Class 5. That may not seem like a bad position to be in at this early stage, but given how far behind Chris Cumming he is, his big rival for the Class 5 Championship, the timing sheets won't make for happy reading for this perennial runner-up. 3 second-place finishes on the bounce in the middle of the season has left him longing for the top step of the podium. However, that has scored him a consistent points haul as the year has gone on, meaning that he's only a few points behind Cumming in the Class 5 Championship. Realistically though, he needs to try and beat him this weekend to keep his hopes alive, and that's not looking all that likely at this early stage. It's Scott Benwell who rounds out the top 10 meanwhile, our runaway leader in Class 6 in the early stages, already with a comfortable margin over the rest of his Class 6 rivals. After just the first 3 runs through the course, he's already got 2 minutes in hand over everybody else, meaning that he and his navigator Mike Cheriton can afford to enjoy the rest of the day under relatively little pressure. They'll still be pushing on though, no doubt, to try and improve their overall position and move further up that top 10 as the day goes on. The car clearly has good speed, so that's something that should be doable if they stay out of trouble. Next up is Keith Wilde, who has inherited 2nd place in Class 8 on the 3rd run of the day, after the team with which he was fighting had problems of their own. It's a welcome return to form for Keith, who we haven't seen at the sharp end for the last couple of rounds, but he's not looking rusty at all. Immediately on the pace this weekend and looking for his first class podium of 2019. It's been an up and down year for Keith all round, with only 2 finishes to show for his 2019 efforts. He'll be hoping to get to the end in one piece and preferably to earn some silverware this weekend. For Richard Hayward, it's been a stressful weekend already before he'd even turned a wheel. Having suffered from a misfire throughout the entirety of the Ilfracombe event last time out, he thought the problem would have been solved by the time he arrived in Wales. That, though, was not the case. Having replaced the whole ignition system between events, he then suffered a complete failure on site on Saturday afternoon ahead of scrutineering, so was forced to turn tail, head back home and fix the problem once again. That meant that he missed the recce and hadn't seen the course before his first run on Sunday morning, meaning it's a rather steep learning curve, particularly in the early stages of the event. Thankfully, a new gearbox is working well, so at least one of his problems from earlier this year has been solved. Richard is about 30 seconds behind the Team Parry car that had been running second in Class 8 until a slow run through the third pass of the stage saw Keith Wilde get ahead of them. They'll be looking to try and retaliate as we go into the middle part of the day to reclaim a second position and maintain this run of podium finishes that have propelled them to a comfortable Class 8 championship lead with 2 rounds to go. Join us after the break when we caught up with the Parrys and to find out what happens next.
Let me introduce Team Parry to everybody, who won the Class 8 battle last time out. Firstly, we've got Philippa, and then we've got Stephanie and Ian, the father. Ian, congratulations on the class win.
Thank you. Yeah, we had a good day. We were running about 8th, and we got our laps out the way, and we were busy tucking into bacon butties, and everybody else fell around us, so we went to 4th. So. First proper car on the course, as I call it. I'm not into these golf cart ones, you know. So yeah, we're quite.
So you're taking it as a win, then, are you?
Yeah. It's a win for a proper car. Yeah, definitely. We'll have them all the way. Look. But yeah, no, a thoroughly good day, and well laid out course as always. Absolutely love it down there at Ilfracombe. So yeah, we've had our best result there. We had a 2nd overall there once, and a 4th overall we'll take any day with a little 2-litre Vauxhall. You know, whizzing round, so that's good. Yeah.
You don't really have many problems with the car, apart from trees. Stephanie, that was your turn last time. I'll talk us through it.
Well, I may have hit a tree on my first run, but it was really good. Other than that, I had no problems all day and really enjoyed it. And yeah, 2nd race ever, so I'm gonna, pretty happy with it. Yeah.
We're here at Ebbw Vale again. The sun is absolutely shining down on us. It's very warm, but you're not racing with Team Parry this weekend. You're racing with Philippa Tennant in the Freelander.
Yeah, works. Cheating on them. No, off to my sister this time. Yeah, her going. So yeah, I am.
So have you got a battle? Who's going to do the fastest time this weekend?
I'll give it a go, but I think I'm still a bit more out of practice. I'm only on my 2nd race, and what is he on? Like, he's 100th at this point, you know, with his age. So yeah, I'll do my best.
How does that make you feel?
Yeah, that'll definitely put 10 seconds on my lap.
Right, so what can we expect this weekend? Obviously, Rod and Mark are back in Class 8 this weekend. They've got to go hell for leather. You've just got to do what you normally do, consistent and get to the end.
Absolutely, that's what we want, yeah. If we can get this one under our belt today, we've done, this will be our 3rd season we've done now, and I don't want to tempt fate, but we've had 1 maximum lap in the 3 seasons so far, so that's what helps us get up there, is to do the mechanics right, try and keep the thing together and keep the 4 wheels on it, because if the wheels ain't round, it ain't going very far, and that seems to be the way we work. But we're bound to have a hiccup now, Jess. We had a little gremlin last time where the engine wouldn't start. We haven't found what caused that, so that might come back and bite us in the bum at some stage. But other than that, just try and get it to the end and enjoy it. That's the most important bit. We're only racing for a plastic pot, aren't we? So you've got to have a smile on your face, otherwise it's just not worth doing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you're all smiling at the moment. Let's see if those smiles continue tomorrow. But for now, good luck and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Jason and Harry Nicol have been tough to beat this year in Class 7, finishing off the top step of the class podium only once all year. That means that, even after they've dropped their worst score of 97 points, they still hold a comfortable and almost unassailable championship lead in the class. This means that they may well be able to take things a little easier over these final 2 events of the season, but they're still pushing on, looking to try and get another victory in the class. They're leading the way at the moment, but would like to be a bit further up the outright standings. They were 11th here earlier on this year, whereas at the moment they languish down in 19th. They may though gain some more positions if the attrition rate increases as the day goes on. Their nearest rival in Class 7 is debutant Ian Archer, making his first appearance of the year. All things considered, this has been a solid debut in the championship, running second place in class, albeit nearly 3 minutes behind the season-long pace setters. The reason for the deficit is a maximum time that they had to take on run 1, meaning they've been playing catch-up ever since. The pace, though, has been strong all day. Victoria Vaughan got her season best finish last time at Ilfracombe, with second place in Class 7 on what was her second podium appearance of the year so far. Whilst another podium should be doable this weekend, there are only 3 Class 7 cars entered after all. Getting second or better may prove to be tricky. That's because she had to take a maximum time on run 6, dropping her several minutes behind her Class 7 rivals. Is a great shame, since her pace had been strong up until that point. She may have even been able to challenge for that elusive first-class victory of the year. Whilst she can no longer mathematically catch the Class 7 Championship leaders, Harry and Jason Nicol, her second place in the points is at least secure, so she can go out and enjoy these final couple of rounds of the year. She certainly seems to be enjoying this one despite the issues midway through the day, but the challenging conditions that keep changing from wet to dry and back again are set to keep her and the rest of her competitors firmly on their toes all day. Scott Benwell, meanwhile, is still leading Class 6, running 9th place overall, despite having to have a bit of a DIY repair job for some broken windscreen wipers. They'd been used well in the morning as the rain started to come in heavily. It didn't seem to slow him down though, and he's looking tough to beat in Class 6. Richard Hayward is still second place in Class 6, but has dropped an extra minute since we last saw him, meaning that by the halfway point, he's now 3 minutes off the class lead. This is only his second appearance of the year though, so a safe and clean finish was only ever the target, something made more likely thanks to the help not only from his family, but also the rest of the all-wheel drive club paddock. Derek Wheeler rounds out the podium runners at the moment in Class 6 after what's been a slightly more cautious start to the event than usual. Derek has been on the podium 4 times this year, including 1 victory in the 5th round of the championship. That gives him a reasonably healthy points lead coming into the penultimate round of the season, and a solid podium finish here should be enough for him to put one hand on the Class 6 championship trophy. Therefore, it's understandable that no huge risks are being taken, especially as the conditions deteriorate through the middle of the day. It's been a wonderfully consistent day so far, with each run being within a couple of seconds of the others, despite the odd moment like that, which I think most drivers have had to suffer with at some point today. There is a bit of a gulf between the top 3 in Class 6 and the one remaining Class 6 runner, Roger Baker, who is 2.5 minutes behind the podium runners after the first 6 runs. It hasn't necessarily been outright pace, though, that has been the highlight of Roger's season, more his consistent results that have been enough for him to net a fairly comfortable second place in the class championship, with just these final 2 rounds remaining. It's not a huge margin that he has over Leighton Dodds and Martin Haywood, but their absence from this round means that it is pretty secure now that he will be the class runner-up. It's Paul Hansen who leads in Class 4 meanwhile, and that has been a familiar sight all year long. 4 wins from 6 events, and only once outside of the top 2 in class, it has been a dominant year from start to finish, and that dominance doesn't look like letting up this weekend. He's comfortably clear of the rest of his class rivals already. This, though, is a victory that he doesn't really need to push for. He could afford to bag some solid points over the final 2 rounds and minimise the risks that he's taking. However, he could only manage 2nd place at Ebbw Vale earlier on this year and will no doubt be wanting to go one better this time around. There are still obstacles to negotiate along the way though, staying out of the way of his other rivals, just one of them. He needs to finish to avoid having to make this a drop score. Tim Pink is 2nd place in Class 4 at this stage and is clearly enjoying some newly tuned shock absorbers on a course that he knows really well. This is enabling him to push a little bit harder this weekend and he's reaping the rewards. It's not been a day without its difficulties though. He's had gearbox problems throughout. The car keeps jumping out of gear in 2nd gear, meaning that, particularly through some of the tighter sections of the course, he's having to drive one-handed. Not necessarily the quickest way of wrestling this thing around the corners. He also has some suspension that is not exactly at 100% health, so may be forced to take things a little more easily over the remaining half of the day to protect his 2nd place in class.
2nd in Class 4 in the Championship coming into the penultimate round is Tony Rooney in your trusty Land Rover. I think every panel has a dent in it. You've turned it on its roof last year. It's powered by a 300 TDI engine out of either a Defender or Discovery, but it goes well, doesn't it?
Yeah, no problems at all. I'm really pleased as far as mechanical side of it goes. It was up until just before I bought that when I was running a V8 petrol, and I wasn't quite sure whether. When I bought this, because then I'm gone from automatic to manual, and then gone from 3000 V8 to 2.5 petrol, would I get on all right with it? It took a while because obviously it's getting the gear change right. Yeah. But when it comes to inclines, this is the boy, 2nd gear and up hills, it just loves it. Yeah.
Yeah, here at Ebbw Vale, the reverse of course compared to what it was earlier in the year, and there's plenty of fast, not so much rough stuff. Is there any chance of you catching Paul Hansen?
No, I wouldn't. I really don't know. I wouldn't have thought so. It's all according on the day. I mean, like I said, with mechanicals, I don't have any troubles with the engine or gearbox or anything else, But obviously, when you're out there and you're giving everything a bit of a bashing, I'm not sure what's going to fall off.
Well, you've bashed quite a lot in this. I can see, like I said before, every panel's got a dent in it. I bet there's a few stories here. But mechanically, what's standard and what's not?
Everything is standard. There is even the engine, gearbox, rear axle, turbo, everything is all genuine out of a scrap vehicle. Out of one, straight into the other,
So it's a relatively cost-effective way to get into the sport?
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely.
Welcome back to Ebbw Vale and the penultimate round of the 2019 all-wheel drive club Britpart Ravenel Safari Championship, where Mark Hones is on an absolute mission as he tries to recreate the victory that he scored here earlier on this year. On that occasion, he got the better of season-long championship rival Rod Parker. This time around, though, Rob is the one who has the edge, and Hones is having to pull out every trick in the book to try and keep up with him. It's been a fully committed drive so far for Mark, but sadly his championship hopes could be about to become derailed. The car is slowing, it doesn't appear to have any forward drive. Could this unbelievably become the 2nd non-finish in a row for Mark Hones? If it is, it could be the end of his title hopes. Well, that will be music to the ears of Rod Parker, not necessarily the way that he wanted to seize the championship advantage, but that is exactly what seems like it will happen. He now has a comfortable lead overall and within Class 8 as well. All he needs to do now is stroke it home to the flag, and he will take a commanding championship lead into the final round. Remember, Holmes was already dropping his disqualification from last time out at Ilfracombe. Another non-finish was something that he could not afford. This puts the championship advantage firmly in the hands of this man, Rod Parker, who certainly still appears to be pushing pretty hard.
Currently leading the production class is Richard Mayer-Barron. You've already had a DNF this year. It's all about point scoring for you, but Philippa is chasing you down this weekend.
Absolutely, and it's possible that Philippa doesn't start on tomorrow. It's not start at all tomorrow, so it really is a wide open championship between us now. I do hope she starts, because that will make my day a bit easier. But like again, if she gets a 0, we're really going to the last round with a lot of point deficit. I've got to do well tomorrow. Let's see.
Yeah, you certainly have. We've just been round the course. It's very fast. There's plenty of open stretches for you to get the foot down. That's where the power's going to come in. There's not much technical stuff, so the advantage is yours at the minute.
Absolutely. This course should suit us very nicely. It's not too technical. There are some parts, obviously, that we've got to be careful of, but I need to get my foot down. I just need to get, and I know I keep saying this, but I've got to get at least 5 places ahead of Philippa tomorrow.
That's what you needed to do at Ilfracombe as well, and because of that you actually hit a fence, as you can see there's a big dent in the car, and also we hit a tree on the top right hand corner of the roof, so pushing it isn't always the best way to go.
No, we did push a little bit too hard, and then obviously we had a maximum on one of our runs when the airflow meter hose split in half, and then we had to try and jiggle the times to figure out how quick we had to do our last run to make sure we finished ahead of them. And we went into the last run knowing that we had to beat them by 1.5 minutes, our lap time, and we put our fastest lap of the day in and came home 2 minutes ahead of them. It was so tight. It was so tight.
Yeah, you came away with a win in the end, which is good coming into this round. It's still all to play for coming into the last two meetings, so good luck.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you both very much for being here today and tomorrow, and the coverage is fantastic and the compliments are really good for you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Richard.
My absolute pleasure. See you tomorrow.
Will do. So this is going to go down to the wire. Andy, who's going to take this one?
Well, the Class 1 battle has been a fascinating one all year long, and it looks likely to go right down to the wire, with less than 10 points now separating the top 2 in the championship. A new name, though, on the Class 1 entry this weekend is Kieran Jones, who's also making his debut in the Freelander Trophy. It's been a steep learning curve, as you'll imagine, especially in these slightly tricky conditions, but he's been enjoying himself and will no doubt get quicker the more we see of him. Speaking of the Freelander Trophy, Philippa Tennant is a runaway championship leader, but is chasing down Richard Mayer-Barron for the Production Class Championship as well. She caught up with Anthony.
Another team who's had a successful year with the World Drive Club is Philippa and James Tennant in your trusty Freelander. Firstly, congratulations on the Freelander Trophy win at Ilfracombe, but your dad's not here this weekend.
No, so unfortunately he's not been very well this week, so he's had to stay at home. So very kindly, Bruce Tigwell's decided to bring it up for me, and he's going to service me tomorrow. And Steph Parry, part of Team Parry, is going to jump in the passenger seat for me tomorrow, which will be definitely different to the Maserati for her, but I'm looking forward to it. It should be good fun. Be very different not having an instructor in the passenger seat, but we've been here a few times before, got an idea of what the car's capable of now, so just need a consistent run tomorrow, because the whole idea is we need to be there if Richard Barron has a problem for the production class.
Yeah, 2 rounds left. You could win the Freelander Trophy this weekend if you come out with an all-out win. Richard Mayer-Barron's the one to keep an eye on, like you just said. He can't drop any scores now, because if he doesn't finish, then that's 2 DNFs and that puts him right out of the running. So you've got to be there or thereabouts at the end of this round and also going into the last round.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why everyone's rallied round to get me here today, so we can at least try and compete against Richard. We're not going to beat him on the track. We'll need him to have a problem. But if you're not here, you're not there to sort of win out of it. So we'll give it a go.
So you're not content with just 1 trophy this year?
Well, I've got to go for the 2.
Ebbw Vale, we're running reverse from what we ran this year. It's very fast out there. It kind of suits the high-powered vehicles.
Yeah, it's tricky here. Out in the scramble field is really difficult. I haven't walked it yet, but you know there's some big holes in the Freelander. The shock absorbers and the mountings, they can't take it. So you've got to be careful. You've got to drive sensibly. But you know there's still some straight parts. We'll get the power down when we can, and we'll see where we end up.
Well, hopefully we'll see you at the top of the table for the Freelander Trophy and potentially a production class as well.
Fingers crossed. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Cheers.
While Philippa and the rest of the Freelander Trophy contingent will have one less driver to worry about this weekend, with the early demise of Ian Gwilym, who made it through just the first 3 runs before having to call it a day. Ian was second place in the Freelander Trophy Championship, arriving here this weekend, with not much chance of catching Tennant out in front. However, another non-finish may put a serious dent in his hopes of retaining second place in the championship to the end of the year. Before the event started, Ian met up with Anthony, where he had high hopes of a good result this weekend.
Second in the Freelander Trophy coming into the penultimate round is Ian Gwilym in your V6 Freelander. Ian, we didn't see in the last round, it was just a bit too far to get to. You had a few issues in the round before in Bickley. Have you sorted all that out now?
Yeah, I sort of nosedived it into the ground on one of the corners and decided to put the oil cooler into the radiator and just smashed it all up on the front end really, so that was no way of fixing it, so it was a new radiator and off to go again.
We're here at Ebbw Vale for the penultimate round. This should suit you more than Philippa's car. You've got the power, there's a lot of straights, not too much off-roady stuff, so you could be in for a win.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it tomorrow. It's a bit more Freelander friendly than most of the rounds we've been to. I'm still going to try not to go too hard and get too excitable because that's where the damage comes from, but yeah, I'm looking forward to a good result tomorrow.
It's fair to say that Class 2 has not always had the biggest of entries this year, but it gained another new name this weekend with the debut of Karina James. It was Karina's first ever time behind the wheel on any off-road event, and it got off to rather a dramatic start, with her Mitsubishi picking up a puncture on the very first run of the day. Having pulled over to make repairs, thankfully her day then had a real upturn in fortune. The rest of the event was clean, despite some damaged shock absorbers, meaning for rather a bouncy ride towards the end of it. She is the only Class 2 car entered this weekend, so finishing will guarantee a class victory. Really though, this weekend was all about learning. She'll be back again for Walters Arena, the season finale, where hopefully she'll have a bit more competition and may be able to repeat the result. Carl Box was another new name added onto the entry this weekend. Sadly though, he didn't stick around for too long. He made it through the first 3 runs cleanly and reasonably quickly, but sadly was out before the halfway mark. That was a great shame too, because this is a car with great potential. The times that he was setting in the morning were good enough to put him into the top 10 overall. Hopefully he'll be back next time at Walters Arena to show what he and this car can do. It's been nice to see an influx of new entrants into the championship in the second half of the year, hopefully showing that this fantastic series will continue to grow into next season. Sadly, Matthew Hall is another name we can add to the retirements list. He's out after run number 6 of what had been a dramatic day right from the word go. Things started to go wrong on run 1 when he hit a gate post, damaging the car. Worse was to come. On run number 6 he lost the left rear wheel, smashing the brake caliper and bending the brake disc. This would put him out of the event just halfway through it. A real shame given the fact that he'd shown front running pace up until that point. It's a similar story for Leighton Dodds and Martin Haywood in Class 6. They had a really strong start to the day, a day in which they were hoping to challenge for second place in the Class 6 Championship. They were significantly quicker than Roger Baker, the man who they had to try and beat this weekend to achieve that, until run number 5, where mechanical issues put them out of the event. That will be their second non-finish of the year, and it takes the pressure well and truly off Roger Baker, who, even if he coasts home, should now, provisionally at least, do enough to wrap up that second place in the championship. It's a case of what could have been for Dodds and Haywood, though. They've been wonderfully consistent with the exception of their 2 non-finishes. They've never been off the podium and have 2 class victories for their efforts this year. Well, despite several drivers running into issues midway through the day, it's been a relatively low attrition rate at this penultimate round of the season. Fewer mechanical issues than we've been accustomed to seeing, and a course that is perhaps a little more forgiving than some of the others we've competed at recently. This also means that the times have been particularly close, and at the front of the field, Rod Parker is now looking good for another event victory, one that could put him one step closer to taking the 2019 championship. Be sure to join us after the break to see if he can hang on, or if there's more late drama still to come. Welcome back to Ebbw Vale, where we're now just one run away from the end of the penultimate round of the championship. Rod Parker just one run away from taking his second victory of the year, and one that would undoubtedly be one of his most significant so far. With his nearest championship rival Mark Hones out of the event, Rod has been able to back off slightly this afternoon. A victory here, though, would put him in almost an unassailable lead going to the final round at Walters Arena. Things have not gone entirely to plan, though. He's had a series of punctures, 2 on run 7 and another 1 on run 8 and 9 respectively. That means that he's actually run out of fresh tyres, and he's got some shock absorber problems, meaning that he'll be stroking this home to bag the maximum points this afternoon. Andy Skelly was in second place overall last time we saw him, but things have changed through the second half of the day. Chris Cumming had been taking time out of him all afternoon and finally overhauled him just past the halfway mark. Skelly has been pushing hard, though, to try and reclaim the position and has been able to match Cummings' times throughout most of the last few runs. Going into the final run of the day, though, it's a sizable margin. It looks like Cummings will hang on, but Skelly is sure to be giving it absolutely everything here to try and get back into second place. He does, though, have the Class 9 victory more or less in the bag and won't want to take any huge risks and risk losing what would be another fantastic class performance. For Chris Cumming, this could be another Class 5 victory on its way to further seal the deal as far as his Class 5 championship is concerned. However, if he can hang on to second place overall to the flag, that, coupled with the retirement for Mark Hones, could give him a shot at taking second place in the overall championship standings. It's been a season that's definitely got better for Cumming in the second half, and he'll be hoping to continue this momentum into the final round at Walters Arena. Mike Bakewell, meanwhile, seems to have got the better of Gareth Edwards in their private battle for second place in Class 9. Mike has now got himself into fourth place overall and has over a minute in hand over the rest of the Class 9 field. It's been a very competitive battle, though, within the class all weekend long. Bakewell needed this victory, though, to cement his position at the top of the Class 9 championship table, something that he is now very close to wrapping up. Gareth Edwards is on for his second class podium of the season, though, but not quite able to achieve the awesome win that he had at round number 2 here earlier on in the season. Let's hope that Gareth comes back again next year for a full season campaign though. He's been very quick every time we've seen him competing in the championship. If he could put together a full season challenge, maybe the Class 9 title could be on the cards. Nonetheless, Ebbw Vale has clearly been a happy hunting ground for Gareth, and it's been another job well done this weekend. Not a repeat of the victory, but third place looks more or less to be in the bag. One of the most impressive performances this weekend has come from newcomer Michael Tilney, who looks set to finish 4th place in Class 9 and only just outside the top 5 overall on his first appearance of the year. His times have been improving greatly as the day has gone on as well, despite the slightly muddy and slippery weather they've had to deal with. He's fairly secure in his overall position, but he's still pushing hard right to the end, creating a real spectacle out on the course. If he's back at Walters Arena next time, an overall top 5 will definitely be the target. Who knows, he could even make the podium. Class 6 honours, meanwhile, look set to go to Scott Benwell, but they've looked set to go to him all day long. He's been tough to beat and has pulled out a very, very comfortable margin within Class 6. This will be a remarkable 4th class victory from 5 appearances this year. That one-on finish that he had earlier on this season came here at Ebbw Vale, so this is a very nice way to bounce back from the early season disappointment. Bruce Mallet is next, running a respectable 8th place overall. He's under some pressure though. Stuart Williams is not far behind him, and whilst the two of them aren't in the same class, Bruce would no doubt like to hang on to what is a very, very good finishing position. That may be tough to do though. His final run does not look particularly quick at this stage. It looks as though Stuart Williams might be able to pip him to the post. Well, could this explain this relative lack of pace that we've seen from Andy Skelly this afternoon? Damage to the rear of the car, we believe a hub failure or something very similar, is meaning that he's having to make some emergency repairs back in the service park. That will certainly explain why the pace hasn't been there this afternoon, and will play beautifully into the hands of Chris Cumming, who will now secure 2nd place overall. Some more valuable championship points, continuing his brilliant run of form in the second half of the year. Back to the course now, and Stuart Williams is pushing hard here on his final lap through. He's running in a very impressive 9th overall at the moment, 2nd within Class 5, but is catching Bruce Mallet here towards the end, especially if he wants to get a full commitment final run. It looks as though he will be 1 position short of that elusive first Class 5 victory. He's put on a real show out on the course today, and surely the victory cannot be that far away for him. Rounding out the Class 5 runners, meanwhile, is Joanne Pullins. She is guaranteed a Class podium, but she's a little way off the pace of the top 2 this weekend. A safe and sensible approach can work sometimes in this championship, particularly on some of the more technically demanding courses. This one, though, is a high-speed, sweeping thrill ride, and a little bit of commitment is necessary to keep up with the quick runners. Still, this buggy has been in one piece pretty much all year long due to a careful driving style deployed by Joanne, and if she rated higher, she may have been a little bit further up the order. Jason and Harry Nicol, meanwhile, look as though they're on their way to another victory in Class 7. Despite this early drama, this was from one of the morning runs where they had to pull off to the side of the road and incurred a very, very slow time. They bounced back well, though, and should win the class. Had it not been for the fact that this man had also incurred a maximum time on run number 1, we may well have been in for a slightly closer contest for the Class 7 victory. As it was, Ian Archer left himself with too much to do after his early morning dramas, and he's been forced to spend the rest of the day consolidating 2nd place in class. That looks like something that he's been able to do successfully though. With 1 run to go, he is several minutes clear of the rest of the Class 5 contenders, and he should be on for 2nd place after what's been, at times, rather a trying day. Meanwhile, the last of the Class 7 cars still running. It's been a bit of a battle of attrition within this class, so she's done well to get to the end, with the car still in one piece and getting more and more sideways with every pass. She's clearly gaining in confidence and getting quicker as a result. In Class 4, meanwhile, a fantastic story has been unfolding throughout the afternoon. Tim Pink had been running a solid, if unspectacular, 2nd place in class in the early stages, but late dramas for Paul Hansen means that he's inherited the class lead. It's been almost exactly 10 years since he last took a class victory, and he's now only 1 run away from doing so. He's not really under any pressure from Paul Hansen behind either. The time lost should be enough to give Tim Pink a fairly clear run to the flag. Tim is a hugely experienced competitor in safari rallies, and so it will be a very, very popular result if he can pull this one off. Well, it looks as though he will do. Tim Pink finishes 16th overall, but wins in Class 4. Rod Parker, though, is the overall victor, putting one hand on the championship trophy now, with Chris Cumming 2nd and Andy Skelly surviving for a Class 9 victory in 3rd. Class 8 is taken by Keith Wild, whilst Richard Mayer-Barron hangs on to the Class 1 victory, Philippa and James Tennant taking another Freelander Trophy win. This means then that Rod Parker will take a 13-point advantage to the final round, whilst Chris Cumming and Mike Bakewell are now tied for 2nd in the championship. Mark Hones drops down to 6th with no chance now of taking the title, whilst Richard Mayer-Barron breaks into the top 10.
Well, Rod, your car's looking a rather second-hand at the minute, but you come away with a win. Well done.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been a really hard day today. You know, the team have pulled in together, and we had 4 flat tyres. We had a nurse gearbox from the very start. We had to use the clutch. We didn't have any flat shift. Didn't feel good. Clutch, we had to nurse home, and the steering rack came loose. Apart from that, we had a pretty easy day.
And the engine's purring nicely as well.
Yeah, really pleased with the engine. You know, A&L Performance did an amazing job on the tuning of it. We've got so much torque lower end. It's where we really noticed it come out the corners. We could really put the power down. You know, much better.
And it leaves you in the lead of the championship going into the final round. You just need to finish there. We've seen that all before, but you've got to be happy for now.
I'm very happy. I hope you haven't jinxed me.
Well, only time will tell. But Rod, go and enjoy it. Well done.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Cheers, Anthony.